topics related to education, contemporary topics, burning topics, and hear from educators what they feel about it and what is their opinion about it. It's a free space, a platform where we exchange ideas, exchange knowledge for the benefit of all of us to learn and grow together. Today, actually, we have gathered here to discuss a rather important topic, a topic that I know all of us have been talking about within our circles, sharing experiences with each other. So we thought that, why don't we bring this topic where all of us can commonly discuss and a bunch of us can share our ideas about it. So thankfully, we're in a zone right now where the pandemic seems at a safe distance away from us. Today, we're going to be talking about reopening of schools and lessons learned. We all know that the past 2 years have been something that none of us ever fathomed we would witness in our lives, but yes, it did happen. Our children ended up spending majority of their time at home. Suddenly, learning was happening online. There was complete cut of social interaction. Not teachers were facing the biggest problem, which was suddenly they had to switch their teaching mediums. They didn't have that physical presence with the students. Students were interacting with the teachers over screens. So it was really a very, very evolved time that the education sector went through. Definitely, there have been some ups, there have been some downs. Now, as the pandemic is at a safe distance, we have reopened schools. But I'm certain that, as also a person coming from the education field, we all have been noticing that there have been certain drastic changes, positives as well as negatives, that we notice within our ecosystems with the students, the attitudes of the students, the what the learning has been. So I think it's important for us to get together and reflect on these sort of observations that all of us are making at our institutions today, and reflect on how do we solve. If there's a disadvantage, then how do we solve that problem? If it's an advantage that we have seen that the pandemic has had, how do we retain that in our physical setups? So we're going to be discussing this and a lot more today. And while we were thinking about this topic, you're thinking that we definitely need a very experienced educator, an educator who's able to see things beyond the classroom, somebody who understands what the mindset is of the student, how the mindset has changed, like psychologically what are the changes that one sees within school, within staff, within faculty, within students. And while we were going through that, I mean, God was very kind to us, and we stumbled upon and connected with Upasana ma'am. Thank you so much, Upasana ma'am, for joining us today. Upasana ma'am is the college advisor, counselor, and psychology faculty at the DPS International School. She is extremely very, very well known for the work that she does, and is a very respected educator in the school ecosystem today. And we're so privileged to have you, ma'am, today to talk with us and hear from you that what are the observations that you have made, also because you have this entire psychology faculty angle also to yourself. So psychologically, what are the changes you're noticing and how we need to change that? So a huge thank you to you for taking out the time and for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much, Kritika, for your kind words, and in fact, inviting me for such a topic, because this is something that, offhand, all of us are talking in our groups, small groups, larger groups, equally. So, I mean, thank you for creating this space for all of us to come together and reflect. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And without further ado, let's just straight jump into the conversation. All my viewers joining me, you know the drill already. You guys have already sent us questions on social media, and we have made sure that we have included that in our conversation with ma'am. If there's anything else coming your way, make sure you put that out on the comment section on our social media channels, and we will include that in our conversation with Upasana ma'am this evening. So, ma'am, first things first, what are your initial remarks on the changes that you noticed in the entire school ecosystem, when schools opened up, like at all different levels and different roles that we have in the school ecosystem? What were the major changes that you observed?
It's been a very exciting time for the educators as well as the kids, because we all were yearning to meet each other in the physical space. So the excitement was there. But having said that, since we all were out of practice of being in the physical space of school per se for the last 2 years, so it became a little challenging also, there was a lot of chaos, I must say. So the kind of teething problems that only kids used to face when they joined school for the first time in the nursery or the kindergarten. So this was the case right now for all the classes and all the teachers and all the parents. So even the management. So everybody was kind of wary of how it's going to go, how the dispersal is going to happen, what will be the time of doing the activities, how will the teachers and students will reconnect again. And the best part was, despite all the chaos and everything, I could see kids mingling with each other, um, with the masks on, without the masks on, or they were completely in that zone where they just want to be with each other, and masks or no masks, they were the same. So yes, it has been a mix of challenge and excitement both.
How very well put. I mean, I can imagine what it would have been like, the excitement, the chaos, just the little uncertainty, settling in. So, definitely. And I think more than anything, as educators, I mean, just having to see children back in schools, I mean, that's such a welcome feeling. I mean, we've missed out on it for such a long time.
You won't believe it was a practice for me, especially in my life skill classes with the junior students, especially grade 5 and 6. That most of the times when we meet, we hug each other, and we sit very closely for close circle discussions and all of that. So that is something that is still missing, because I'm still a little at a distance from them. But the best part again in this is that we're learning different ways to do the same things that we were doing without getting physically too close once again.
Absolutely, ma'am. Absolutely. Very, very well said. Obviously, I think this is one of the, main questions that I was very intrigued to ask you, because of the kind of expertise that you have, which is that, do you think there is a change in the mindset of students because, they've been cut off from social interaction, and they've also like not been in physical spaces with, a lot of people. So do you think there's a change in their mindset and their attitude that you've noticed in the past 2 weeks?
Absolutely, 100%. It's just that it is different for different age groups. And since I deal with all the age groups, so I have seen the changes, the kind of changes there have been in different age groups. Say, for example, a kindergarten student, he is that student who, before coming to school a day earlier, is asking his or her mom, what do we do in school? What does the school look like? So they are, coming to the school for the first time. So it is either the nursery child or the KG or even grade 1. They're seeing the school for the very first time. So they are little socially awkward. Some of them, I won't say all of them. There are some, obviously, individual differences are there. We all know. But then most of them are socially awkward. Others are happy to see those children whom they have been interacting with for the last 2 years online, and now they get to spend time with them. So this is a new world for them where they get to meet friends every day, because they've been devoid of this interaction. So when we look at kindergarten children, we know that these are the kids who thrive on company of each other, who thrive on social interactions, and they were devoid of all of this for the last 2 years. So those kids, being too young, I think they're the most resilient here. So they are coming back to their normal things, normal routine quite early on. Though, if we talk about learning gaps and all, I'm not just touching upon that. I'm just talking about how they are interacting with each other. And if I go a little higher up and look at the middle school kids, there I see, a lot of retraining needs to happen. They've forgotten that there are simple rules or simple courtesies that they have to follow, not because parents are not teaching. It's just because they were not in a very structured and a formal environment. They were at home, they were at ease. So they get tired by the end of say fourth, fifth period, when it's 11:30, and they just want to go back home. So we have to tell them that you can't just switch off the video and sleep now. You have to be present in school. So they are taking time to come back to that drill and that kind of rigor. Same goes for even the senior classes. But again, because they're together, they are there with their friends. So I think all said and done, whatever social awkwardness is there will slowly go away with time. And they're happy because they're getting to do those things which they wanted to do while sitting at home. So overall, yes, there are certain changes in their social interactions or their following of the rules, their behavior, and all of that. But because they're together, because they're resilient, I'm pretty hopeful within another week they will probably be back to what they were earlier.
Wonderful. So, I mean, obviously, before I come to the learning gaps, which is also one of the biggest, I think, elephant in the room for a lot of us educators to address, you did talk about the fact that you notice the social awkwardness that exists in students. So, is there any sort of exercise that you're doing within your school, within your institution or ecosystem to kind of break those barriers? Anything at all? Because I think it would really benefit all the other educators who are joining us today.
See, it's not that we have a structured uh, program for that, but yes, definitely as educators, we have had our meetings around this topic with the school management, so that things can be eased out for our kids as well as for the parents as well, because I can see the anxiety in parents is a bit too much. So they still haven't left the kids on us again. They are still in that zone when they have to take care of and micromanage everything at home, which they were doing for the last 2 years. And that's how they were able to, uh, they were able to help their kids study because, we as teachers didn't have much control over that since the parents were home. Now, again, now leaving those kids on the school and the teachers, it's getting difficult there. So in our interactions, we have kind of understood one thing which we are following in the entire school, and that is we have to ease out a little bit on the submissions that you're expecting. So flexi kind of expectations, flexible expectations from students, and allowing them to not be the good student all the time, and then training them with little patience. So these little things, uh, because we educators, we are also parents, we also have kids at home, so we have seen how it has impacted them. So probably that is helping us also give them that kind of safe space, and that is really important. As a school, we give them a space where the parents also feel relaxed that yes, this is the same space where they were growing up. It's just because of 2 bad years doesn't mean that we've lost touch with our kids. And yes, we are trying to do that a lot. And I think student well-being is one thing that we have all understood is more important than just academics. So yes, this is something that is always there in our schools, but probably after these 2 years, we've realized it comes probably much before than we complete our syllabus in the class. So that is again has become a more important criteria for us to handle our children.
So I think that we would count as an advantage of COVID, that where the student and student well-being has taken center stage for the school ecosystem. And I think very aptly shared by you that, acceptance is key here. We need to reinstate that trust in the students that they're in a safe space. And, it's the same sort of comfort bubble that they have, which was there earlier. And yeah, I think acceptance would just change the entire, like, whatever changes that one notices in these children that they've gone through because of being away from school. I think by creating a more accepting environment, and also what you very correctly said, that not expecting them to be those A1 students, I think that will really help sort of again bring in that positive attitude towards the school faculties and the entire school environment. So while we've spoken about the social part of it, also I think what we really need to address is what are the learning gaps that one has noticed. If I have to ask you from the top of your mind, when you interact with these students, and what is it that you're doing within the ecosystem to address those gaps today?
See, as far as learning gaps are concerned, the very first thing that we've noticed as a school is they've forgotten how to write because the written submissions went down. Most of the submissions were um, on computer, though we made it a point to get handwritten assignments back. But still, since we didn't have much control on them, so they were able to dodge us while online school was going on. So I think there the gaps are pretty large, and specifically the younger lot, I will say. Because say we all know the first 5 years of a child's life is really important for their brain development, and that's the time that the fastest brain development happens. And it is the first 2 years in school that they learn a lot of things which we call as pre-academic skills. So teachers have tried their best to catch up during online classes, but we all know it can never take place, or it can never what do you say? I mean, take place of a physical interaction with a teacher.
Absolutely.
So that is the reason that I see that the pre-academic skills which have gone missing in most of the kids, I won't say all, probably there have been some parents who would have been hands-on and tried to make sure that this doesn't happen. But then most of the kids, I think they will take a lot of time to develop their pre-academic skills, which they would have already achieved by now. So it is the youngest lot which is facing the difficulty. In these skills. And if we talk about learning gaps in the higher classes, writing is one thing. And then I believe the rigor that is something that they haven't had for the last 2 years. So because of that, and not giving the physical exams in school, so that is something, again, that's a big gap. So they need to start giving tests in school and slowly and steadily build up on their test giving skills as well. So there will be a lot of challenge for parents and students and the school. And I believe at this point of time, we all need to be patient with each other, because I think parents are getting very jittery. They are getting, they're probably thinking that things should happen as soon as possible, but it's going to take time. Teething problem will happen not just with kids. Teachers are also finding it difficult to stand the entire day when they were actually sitting at home and taking classes. So they were managing home, they were taking breaks in between, switching off the videos, and during a free period, they were able to take care of house and probably even go to the market within the probably 2 periods they had free in between. So now they are also coming back to the grind once again. So I'm sure there will be a lot of upsetting emotions here and there, but a lot of patience is required there, and children are resilient. They'll come back with full force. So I completely believe in that.
Absolutely agree with you there. And obviously, now, since one big part of your portfolio is also about, being a college advisor to such a well reputed school, I would want to also ask you that, do you think that for students, especially the students who are in like ninth standard, and ninth and 10th, which is a very crucial part for them to figure out that which direction they're taking, so that in 11th and 12th they're more streamlined in their college application process, do you think that counselors have taken a hit on that process as well? I mean, what is it that you're grappling with on that front?
Um, to some extent, I would say yes, because specifically for students who are in high school, this is the time when they build on their profile. So they do a lot of extra stuff apart from studies to build on their profile. So kids who were doing stuff like probably they were learning tennis professionally, or swimming, or gymnastics for that matter, or maybe going for inter schools and the nationals and zonals and all of that. Everything came to a halt for 2 years, and because of that, they were able to do only few things which were being managed online. So the real experiences, they were missing. So even the community service part of it. So I think this has made this age group a little skeptical about how their CV or how their profile will look like. And now I think they will try to do more than needed, because they want to fill up the gaps now. So I would just expect them to just go slow, because the admission officers would know that the COVID was there for everybody and not just
Yeah,
them.
correct.
So yeah, that is something. Apart from that, I don't think much problem there, because we were connected online all the time. So we were able to meet online. We were able to share a lot of things, whether it's virtual visits of the universities and everything else related to applications and stuff. It was all done online. So that's something that kept happening then also. In fact, I would say online was, I felt for myself, it became easier for me to do more things which I was not able to do when I was physically present in school, except the physical career fair. Rest everything I could do much better online, because I had a lot of time. So Saturdays when the school is off, so I could plan a lot of things on Saturdays. So yeah, otherwise I don't think much of an issue that I face there.
Super. And since you ended that response on a positive note, so then I must ask you that what are the positive advantages that you feel that should remain now that even schools have reopened physically, which should remain as standard operating procedures in schools and which actually make the system more efficient?
I think I have kind of covered them in fragments already. So the first thing, I think student well-being should always be the top priority of every school. No pandemic, whatever comes, whatever goes. This is something that always should be the first thing that the schools plan. So that is one thing. And the second thing, and the best part about the pandemic was, or the lockdown that taught us was, technology is something that is really wonderful. So there have been teachers who completely rejected the idea of learning technology. Said, it's been so many years when I've been able to do my job so well for last 15, 20 years. What is the need to learn um, computers or presentations or blah 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 that you people do? I don't need it. I connect very well with my kids. So this pandemic forced them to learn, and believe me, some of them have actually accepted that, yes, it made learning interesting. So I think this is, again, that's going to stay. And as far as I'm concerned, I have also, found so many beautiful resources which I probably wouldn't have bothered about, looking at them. So that is something that will stay with all of us. And apart from that, again, one thing that has, I would say, is a positive of this pandemic, and this is that parents have realized the importance of school and teachers. So initially, they might have had certain negative attitude towards small little things that happen in school or with the teachers. Now they know, how important it is. And not just that, I have a daughter in grade 10 who used to always wait for holidays and wait for, time away from school. Now she doesn't want to sit at home. She waits for the weekends, that's okay, but she wants to be in school every day. And she says, yes, I can understand better when I'm there physically present in the class. So initially, what I felt was students used to feel, oh, this is all there on the internet. We can always look for information and we can understand all of this better. But they were surprised that, yes, no matter what, teachers are important, and they need to actually sit with them to learn and understand things and concepts. So I think these are all good things, and I am in general a very positive person. So I will, no matter what, I will always find something positive in everything. So yes.
And I think that's a great quality to have as an educator, like being a perennial optimist. I think is what we really require, right? Because of the kind of work that we engage in today. And I think you very correctly pointed out that, it's made students appreciate the role that teachers and faculties play in their lives. Is so earlier, it was so easy for them to just sort of dissuade and just sort of be like, but I have all information available on my fingertips. But now they realize that just having the information is not enough, but you actually need a physical presence to break down and explain that information to you, and to put it in a package that you will be able to absorb and actually use and apply. So I think that's very, very correctly put by you. But definitely, I would want to ask you one last question. And this was a question that was something that was circulated by one of our audience members, that you have very correctly pointed out. And I think this is a pain point for a lot of educators today, that how parents have not completely let go of the students. And there seems to be this little bit of tussle that, school authorities are facing, where, parents are being a little bit, I'd say, more intrusive than they usually are in the processes. So any way in which you're handling it effectively at your institution that you'd like to share with all of us today?
Yes, everything boils down to conversations. It boils down to dialogues. So this is what we are trying to do. In fact, this entire week has been a week of dialogues with parents of different classes. We have had orientations all our lives in every year, but this year the conversations have been little different, where we are trying to make them see why it is important for them not to become the fourth leg of the chair all the time. So we are trying to tell them that they should be the mentor, but they're not supposed to hover around the kids. बच्चे का bag भारी है, so let me carry that. They are coming to say bye bye even till the end of the gate. I'm talking about grade 8 and 9 and 10 who can easily do all of these things. I'm not even talking about little ones. So they somehow suddenly have become a little insecure probably. But being a parent, I do understand them as well. So I think the conversations, if they keep happening, and not just only for the orientations, and the dialogues keep happening between the parents and the school, where probably we can help the parents see what we are trying to say and why we are trying to say. So we have to bring them on the same page by dialogue, and there's no other shortcut for that. So I think they will also take some time to come down to that. But again, like I said, I am positive about everything, and this will also happen, but it might take some time.
You're absolutely right when you say conversation and dialogue is key. And I think, as an optimist, I would also see that this is a great, way for us working closely with the parents, because otherwise there were these two different silos that used to operate. Somewhere even parents did not have that much of an idea what was happening in school, the kind of effort that schools and faculties were putting in. So now, with them becoming a part, like a bigger part of the children's life, especially of school through online school, I think this will also, obviously there are teething issues where they're insecure, but also it'll act as a great bridge between us and the parents, and for all of us to work together towards the betterment of the child. I think it's really been truly a wonderful conversation that we have had today, and so many new things that we have learned from your experience of having the children over at DPS International School, and speaks volumes. I think each of your responses really speaks volumes about, the 360 degrees view that you are taking to each and every observation that you have made in the reopening of schools. And I would really like to thank you for sharing that experience so candidly with us and being so honest about it, because I think that's the idea, right? For us to have these kind of dialogues, conversations, share these inputs with each other so that we can all collaborate together and get better together. So, a huge thank you to you, Upasna ma'am, for taking out the time and joining us this evening. It's truly been wonderful to chat with you.
Oh, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Kritika, and I see you as a very bright and sparky girl, and I'm sure you're going to do very well in life later on as well. So
Thank you so
I really love chatting with you, Kritika.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. And a big thank you to all our lovely viewers for joining us and actually sending those recommendations and making sure that we also have the parents bit covered in our conversation today. We look forward to welcoming you next week, where we're going to be talking about psychometric testing from an educator's perspective. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank
We'll see you
you.
on next Thursday. Thank you very much, ma'am. Take care.